If you are in the market for a 3-row mid-size SUV, but you want something that is a little bit more engaging to drive, you may need to consider this one. Welcome to Side Roads Auto. I'm Carlos, and this is a 2026 Mazda CX-90. For 2026, the CX-90 continues to have the premium and athletic exterior design, but we have these brand new trims, which are the GPT for Canada and the Turbo S Premium Sport for the US, with blacked out accents on the grille, the black wheels, the mirror caps, and some other details in the outside. It looks really sharp. But for a 3-row SUV, the interior space and experience is really important. So let's take a look of the new CX-90. So the interior on the CX-90 is great and is market and segment appropriate. So the materials are all nice and soft and very well put together, and they feel high quality. The support points are really comfortable, both in the middle and in the door. Super cushy. I like that. All windows are one touch up and down, and we have 2 memory seats for 2 different drivers. The steering wheel comes wrapped in leather and is heated, at least in this trim. The seats are heated and ventilated, and I find them really comfortable. They are a little bit firm, but comfortable. I have taken this car for road trips, and I find them perfectly fine. Check that out, because seats are a personal thing. Here in the dashboard, we have this portion that is wrapped in leather with contrast stitching, really nice. And the chrome is not shiny, but this is dark silver. I like it because it's not in your face, but it still feels nice and quality. I like that. We have a 12.3 inches digital gauge cluster that you can configure a little, and it changes based on your drive modes that you have here: sport, normal, and off-road. You can also get all the messages from that screen, and if you put your cruise control, also changes the way that it shows everything there. It's good. I think Mazda could add a little bit more of customizations from this screen, but it's clear, it's nicely designed, it's simple. I like it. Here we have another 12.3 inches screen for your infotainment, and it's color, and it's mostly controlled by this rotary knob here, which is typical of Mazda until now. At least there is a new model coming out that doesn't have this anymore, and you can have it touch if you are using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto that we have here, and it's wireless. The unit also comes with Alexa integration that helps you control some of the functions of the car by voice command. I like this screen. I know that most people will like and prefer to have a touch screen for all the functions, but I can tell you this is a lot easier while driving. At least in my experience, I have owned several Mazdas, so at least for me, I know that's not for everyone. Air conditioning controls are here, are of all physical buttons and easy to reach and easy to use. I like that. And we have a wireless charger for your phone, 2 cup holders, an electronic shifter that is somehow the natural way, except that you have to put it to the left to put it in park, and then to the right to put it in reverse, and then it's back and forth like any other regular shifter. The rotary knob and a volume knob here. The center console is on the small side, I would say. It's still practical, but it's small, and the glove box is huge. We have a panoramic sunroof here. So this is tricky. This is a 3-row SUV segment that is growing. It's very competitive. There are brand new products that are giving you everything, so that is good. I like the quality of the materials and the design of this interior in general, and it have everything that everybody else is giving you, except for the design is not so in your face, I would say. It's nice and quiet. It feels premium. I like it, but for sure Mazda need to watch out for the competition. I fit behind myself based on my driving position. There is plenty of space for my knees and my height. There is an armrest there, 2 cup holders that you can put down and up depending if you are using it. In this unit we have captain chairs, so you have the pass through in the middle there. You can recline the seats and you can move them back and forth. I find the seats comfortable and they are heated. We also have air conditioning controls and air vents back there. You can have the CX-90 with a bench seat instead of these captain chairs in the back. I also fit in the third row. Yes, I move the seat forward to a point that I can fit in the second row and the third row at the same time, but you can put it back or even further depending on who are you getting in the third row. The seats I find comfortable. They are a little bit on the low side, but still comfortable. There are 2 cup holders and charging ports, and there are air vents there. The trunk I find big. The CX-90 is not the biggest in the market, at least in interior dimension. Is I think one of the longest, but you still have a decent amount of space with the third row up. You have a plenty amount of space with the third row down, and then you can also fold the second row for a much more bigger and useful cargo space. Again, by the numbers, not the biggest, but I find that practical and useful enough. I like the interior of the CX-90. The 2026 Mazda CX-90 comes with an inline 6-cylinder turbo engine that produces up to 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Comes with a mild hybrid system as well. The engine is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and all CX-90s are all-wheel drive. Fuel efficiency for the CX-90 is 10.3 liters per 100 kilometers city and 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers highway, which is 23 mpg city and 28 mpg highway. The CX-90 competes in the mid-size 3-row SUV segment against vehicles like the Ford Explorer, the Honda Pilot, the Hyundai Palisade, and the Kia Telluride. And as you can see in the graphic, they are pretty competitive, but the CX-90 has good power, good torque, and very good fuel efficiency. Let's talk about price. The CX-90 starts in Canada around the 47,000 Canadian dollars. The top trim goes to around 63,000 Canadian dollars. In the US, the price starts around 38,000 US dollars, and the top trim goes to around 57,000 US dollars. So at this point, if you are good with the price and you like the position on the market of the CX-90, please come with me and see how it's to drive. Well, driving the CX-90 is exactly what I expected. I am a fan of the Mazda brand. I have owned several Mazdas. And one interesting thing, we are around the 2 years mark of the channel being up. So thank you guys for following and being with us in this journey. And the first ever car that I reviewed for the channel was a CX-90, mine. And never again, because I had several cars from Mazda, and there has always been CX-70, which is newer, and we need it for the channel and the traffic and all that. So I'm happy and surprised that just at the mark of the 2 years, I'm getting back a CX-90 from Mazda. And I have a lot to tell you about this, especially considering comparing with mine and what had happened with the CX-90 since the beginning. So the main thing about the CX-90 is the driver choice. So there is a very complex suspension setup here, tailored for driving dynamics. And of course, I don't think that's what everybody's looking in a third row SUV, but some of us wants to have the practicality of a vehicle like this without sacrificing driving enjoyment. So that's me and plenty of us, and many of the customers that doesn't even know that will get into a CX-90 and then find out that this is such a nice driving vehicle. So good there. So let's start with the cabin. The cabin is very well insulated, and I can tell you they did something for this 2026 or the newer CX-90s, because Mine is not this quiet. It's very quiet and very nice. I feel that they put something extra in between the engine and the cabin because you can barely hear it. So half of the time I have to check if the car is running. It feels like an electric car in so many moments. Not all the time, obviously, but more moments than what you would expect. And I find that super cool, and it makes it feel so premium and so expensive. It's really, really nice, and I'm glad that Mazda keeps improving and improving on the CX-90. So points are super nice and quiet, this cabin. Now, you can hear road noise depending on where you are, and I don't drive in the most smooth roads out there, so that when they are rougher, I can hear a little bit more. In the highway, it's super quiet. I like that. So better than mine in terms of cabin quietness. Then let's talk about the suspension, which I think is the weakest point of the CX-90. It's a little bit firm, which I like, and adds to those driving dynamics. This car corners like nobody else. It's really, really nice. It feels dynamic, and I like it. But it's firm, so you need to test drive because it's not for everybody, and this is a 3-row SUV, supposed to be for families, and maybe there are some suspension setups that are a little bit more comfortable for that specific buyer that is only into comfort. So keep that in mind. The second thing about the suspension is this is better than mine. So also I can see the improvements there. It managed to separate the imperfections from the road, from the cabin, a lot better than mine in most situations. The problem I have here is that when it have to handle bigger bumps or roads that are rougher or more imperfections, I find the suspension crashes a little, and then the cabin vibrates and all that. So it loses a little bit of premiumness, in my opinion, there. And I love my CX-90, and I love this one even better than I love mine. So this car is great to me. I get it that it may not be for everyone, but the suspension, after driving so many cars for the channel, now I know there are so many better executed suspension in terms of premium feeling and keeping the cabin away from what is happening in the road. So keep that in mind. Then we have the brakes. The brakes are, so we have a mild hybrid here, and it's a special one too. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So the brakes have a regen function because they need to recharge that little battery that is being used for the mild hybrid. So these are way better than mine too. I think I got one of the first ever CX-90 that came to Canada. So out of the oven, and I think they have been improving and recalling and doing all this stuff to change the things that were not at Mazda level. And I can tell you, they have fixed almost everything in my car, and this one feels like it's properly cooked. I would say 98%. So that's good, much better. The brakes, you can feel that they are regen brakes. These are way better than mine. You can still feel that a little, so keep that in mind. And I'm completely unable to do a fully smooth stop, which I like to do, because if you release so let's talk about now the mild hybrid system. So what that tells you is better from zero acceleration, as Mazda claims. That's if you floor it. If you don't floor it, there is like the first gear seems to be electric and then goes to, it's something there that I cannot figure since I have my CX-90, but that transition from first to second, it can be weird on times. Not in this one, in mine. Here is almost smooth. But if you floor it, then it gives you that push at the beginning, whilst turbo boost, so it's really nice. But when you are flooring it in regular acceleration, it can compete with the engine a little. The most important thing that it does, which makes it really good in fuel efficiency, is that when you are coasting, the car shuts off like a hybrid, like a regular hybrid that transitions from battery to engine all the time. There is no enough power in this battery to move the car in battery only mode. It helps you from a stop, and it helps you by shutting off the car so you can spend more time with the car off and saving fuel. That's what it is. And that's really cool. But for example, when you want to stop smoothly, if you release the brake a little to make it smoother, then the engine comes back on. So those things. Maybe I'm being picky because I keep trying to master my own CX-90, so that's there. But again, everything that works in this car and all the interactions between that auto stop and running stop function, the engine, the brakes, the suspension, everything is better in this one, which makes me really, really happy because I think I'm going to get the newer one. So that's there. Then we have the steering. Mine is way heavier than this one, so this is not too heavy. I like it a lot, especially in parking. I find it a lot softer, so it makes the experience of living with this car in a daily basis way better. So I like that. It's those small touches that will make regular people like the CX-90 better now. So and any improvement I appreciate and welcome, and thanks to Mazda. So that's good there. Visibility is good for the CX-90. There's a big windshield. I find the windows are big enough. The second row window is huge. There's a little window in the back there. The D pillar has a massive blind spot there. You have blind spot monitoring here and 360 camera or backup camera depending on the trim that you choose from the CX-90 lineup, and it's good in general. The mirrors, I would like them to be a little bit bigger, but other than that, I think it's good. Oh, by the way, when you have the third row with the headrest up, you lose a little bit at the extremes on visibility on the back window, but you can still see, and the back window is big enough, I think, so it's good. Then we have the transmission. This is an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it's really smooth, and it's even smoother here. It could be a little bit faster. Sometimes when you floor it, there's a lot of torque here, so I think the transmission is tuned to use the torque more than the fast shifting. That's my only conclusion here, but if you floor it, it goes, the changes are smooth, it feels sporty. I like it in general. I learned though, when you put in a sport mode, it's way faster, way quicker, it reacts immediately, it's really satisfying. So if you are driving in a situation where you really need the car to react quick, just put it in sport mode and you will be super, super happy. And then we have the engine, which to me is the star of this car. So it's almost class leading in power, except for the bigger output engine from the Explorer. And it's the only inline 6 engine that you can find in this market, in a 3-row mid-size SUV in regular brands. I have seen many videos of the super expert drivers complaining about the engine, that the inline 6 is not smooth enough, and so on and so forth. I don't know, I'm not an engineer. I'm just giving you my experience as an owner and as a driver that just is driving this car. But because I have the channel, I also have driven plenty of the competitors, the Nissan Pathfinder, all the Chevrolet sisters from Buick and Chevrolet and GMC. I have driven the Cherokee. I have driven many cars for the channel, watch all those videos. I can tell you, no engine in this segment. I really like the Explorer, but I only drove the smaller engine, the 4-cylinder, which was great, by the way. But none of them have given me the experience that I have with this engine. It's smooth to me as a regular person, and it feels peppy and powerful, and the sound is great. It moves this car with no issues. It's really satisfying to drive. You feel that you have something different. And by the way, that setup you can only find in German brands that are premium and luxury and a lot more money. So give Mazda 20, 30, 40,000 money dollars extra, and I can assure you that the engine will be better than those. At least as a fan, I'm telling you this. I don't know if it will, but I like Mazda, and to me this is an impressive development and product from Mazda. So yes, we can see the bad side of everything. I choose to see the good side and appreciate the effort and what they have done in such a small brand with such a tight development budget. So to me, this engine you cannot find anywhere, and it drives like nothing else in the market, and it's great. And then we get the driving dynamics. Yes, the suspension is a little bit firm and a little bit crashy on extreme bumps, but when you take this car to a corner, you feel like you are driving something so much smaller. It feels planted and glued to the road and sporty. You really want to take twists with this car, which is crazy because it's a 3-row SUV. So I love it because I can still have and feel like I'm driving something that is responding to me, that is not muted to the world on the road, and it's not only to transport people but to satisfy me as a driver. And I love that this exists, and I love that people is buying it, and that people still appreciate this type of car. So I will always recommend the Mazda CX-90. This is all what we have with the CX-90, but please let me know, what do you think?